Hello and welcome, everybody. We're going to start very shortly. We're just going to let folks come in and we'll start in maybe 1 minute. Alors, bonjour et bienvenue à tout le monde. Nous allons commencer bientôt. On va juste permettre à tout le monde de nous rejoindre. On va commencer dans 1 minute.
Bonjour ou bonsoir à tous et à toutes. Je suis Andy Ouedraogo, chargée de programme et de recherche à Coopération Canada ici. Et c'est avec un grand honneur que je vous souhaite la bienvenue à la cérémonie des Prix de Coopération Canada, en collaboration avec les UMC et le fonds Louis Perenbaum. This week, as part of International Development Week, we spotlight Canadian efforts in eliminating poverty, addressing inequity, and promoting global well-being. So a big applause to Cooperation Canada members, many of whom are present for their exceptional work nationwide. Ce soir, il s'agit de vous. Il s'agit de mettre en vitrine les agents de changement, les innovateurs et les défenseurs qui repoussent les limites de ce qui est possible dans notre secteur de développement international. And before we further introduce the evening and pay honor to the land on which we are joining you from, please note that we have interpretation available for tonight's event. You can click on the globe icon below on your screen and select the language of your choice. Et maintenant, moi, j'aimerais rendre hommage et exprimer ma profonde gratitude au peuple algonquin Anishinaabe, gardien des terres non cédées d'où je vous rejoins aujourd'hui. Coopération Canada reconnaît la présence durable et la résilience de la nation algonquine, qui sont les gardiens originaux de ces terres depuis des générations. Nous exprimons notre respect envers les aînés d'hier et d'aujourd'hui, ainsi que notre désir ardent de respecter la relation sacrée entre la terre et ses occupants pour les générations futures. Dans notre cheminement collectif et la réconciliation, nous vous invitons à faire pareil également. I also want to emphasize that we are coming together during Black History Month, and I think it's so important to acknowledge the harm that colonial, racist, and oppressive practices have caused globally in the name of development, including within our own sector, the work of civil society. Ceux et celles d'entre nous qui s'engagent dans la coopération internationale et l'aide humanitaire doivent entamer une profonde réflexion, évoluer d'ores et déjà dans leurs pratiques, dans leurs approches, dans leur mentalité et prendre des mesures concrètes, je précise bien, des mesures concrètes pour faire mieux. Now, I've been told that I have a very easy job tonight to keep things flowing and ensure that we're all having a good time. And I must say, I'm really excited to share this role with the one and only Gabrielle Carras-Perriot.
Yeah, they are. It says remove.
Who's our valued, respected, and cherished communications manager here at Cooperation Canada. J'avoue que souvent, il me casse un peu la tête avec ces histoires de branding guidelines, mais il est très indispensable à notre équipe. Donc, Gab, take it away.
Thank you, Andy. It's very nice of you. Alors, bonjour. Nous sommes aujourd'hui ici présents pour célébrer celles et ceux qui portent le leadership dans la promotion de l'égalité des genres, l'impact et l'innovation à un niveau supérieur, et pour présenter des exemples étonnants d'excellence en matière de coopération internationale. Au nom de toute l'équipe de Coopération Canada, je vous remercie de vous être jointes à nous pour votre engagement en faveur de la coopération, alors que nous œuvrons pour un monde plus sûr, plus juste et plus durable. Avant de commencer, je vous propose de vous servir à boire afin que nous puissions lever nos verres en l'honneur des lauréates et des lauréats tout au long de la cérémonie. To kick off Cooperation Canada Awards ceremony, we are fortunate to welcome the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of International Development, Anita Vandenbeld. An international expert on democracy and human rights, she has worked in over 20 countries on inclusive governance and women's leadership, including with the United Nations Development Program, Democratic Governance Group in New York. There, she managed a multi-partner international network that aimed to promote women's political participation. Ms. Vandenbeld was also a senior advisor with the UNDP in Bangladesh and with the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe mission in Kosovo. In 2008, she was awarded the Canadian Peacekeeping Service Medal in recognition of her work in Kosovo. Madame Vandenbeld a aussi été directrice résidente auprès du National Democratic Institute en République démocratique du Congo. Elle a collaboré avec l'OSCE en Bosnie-Herzégovine et elle a collaboré avec le Centre parlementaire canadien à l'égard du développement démocratique post-conflit dans les Balkans. Elle a également mené une étude sur le leadership des femmes pour le compte du PNUD au Vietnam et des séances de formation sur le leadership des femmes en Haïti. Ms. Vandenbeld, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me here and for that kind introduction. And my congratulations to all of tonight's award nominees. It is really a pleasure to speak with all of you at Cooperation Canada as we celebrate International Development Week. I'm joining you here from Ottawa, the traditional and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin peoples, which has always been a gathering place. So it's fitting that we are gathered here virtually today. En cette semaine de développement international, je rencontre plusieurs organisations canadiennes pour parler des défis mondiaux qui ont une incidence sur nous et, bien sûr, de la manière dont le Canada s'efforce de trouver des solutions. Le fait d'entendre des récits sur la façon dont les Canadiennes et les Canadiens contribuent à réduire la pauvreté, à fournir une éducation et des soins de santé de qualité, à répondre à la crise climatique et à promouvoir l'égalité des genres est toujours une source d'inspiration. Minister Hussein wanted me to share his sincere regrets that he was not able to be here today with you. This week, he's traveling across Canada to connect with development organizations and meet with community members, including many who trace their roots to the countries where we deliver development programs. It is very important that we hear the perspectives on Canada's international development work and why it matters to families and communities around the world. I know that civil society organizations like yours are deeply involved in community engagement as well. So let me thank you for your efforts to raise awareness and build understanding about Canada's role in international development, and for encouraging more Canadians to get involved. You are helping people to understand that the projects that are happening thousands of kilometers from home really do make an impact on Canadians' own health, security, and prosperity. Challenges like COVID-19, the climate crisis, increasing conflict and displacement have really driven home how interconnected we all are as a global community. And I think it's so important to stress that we not only share the big global problems, but Canada also has so much to offer as a partner that helps create global solutions. L'une des façons les plus efficaces de s'intéresser aux enjeux mondiaux et de se sentir interpellé et de passer du temps dans d'autres parties du monde, d'entrer en contact avec des personnes qui travaillent pour l'éradication de la pauvreté et à la promotion du développement durable peuvent être transformatrices, surtout pour les jeunes. That is why yesterday, Canada announced $24.5 million extra in support for the International Youth Internship Program. I got my very first opportunity almost 25 years ago through the Youth International Internship Program to go to Bosnia, and that is something that changed the entire trajectory of my life. This program will reach over 800 young people who may face barriers to employment, such as youth living with disabilities, racialized youth, members of the 2S LGBTQI+ community, and Indigenous youth. This is a wonderful program that not only helps young Canadians gain hands-on professional experience in international development, it also helps them to contribute directly to achieving the SDGs. And it connects with the Government of Canada's larger commitments to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, as well as to promoting anti-racism and inclusivity. I know that Cooperation Canada's members are not all Global Affairs Canada partners, but whether you're currently receiving funding or not, you are all representing Canada in the world. You are all helping us share Canadian values like compassion, inclusivity, and solidarity. And you are all working towards our bigger mission of moving the SDGs forward. I know that the Canadian international assistance sector does truly remarkable work, and I'm proud to see projects that put a spotlight on Canadian expertise and innovation. This fall, for example, Minister Hussein and I met Fadouma Gure, a Canadian founder and innovator who has developed the world's first solar-powered breast pump. Fadouma was able to apply her own experience as a health researcher, a midwifery student, and a breastfeeding mother with Somali roots. Her company, LISS Technologies, has tested the innovative breast pumps with mothers and health providers in Somalia and is now refining the invention even further. Support for this project comes from the Fund for Innovation and Transformation Program of the Intercouncil Network. I'm also pleased to see so many projects with Canadian civil society that are centered on building strong local partnerships to ensure that development initiatives are relevant, sustainable, and effective. Working closely with local partners and empowering them to make key decisions about the projects that impact their communities continues to be very important for us at Global Affairs Canada, as I know that it is for all of you. It is a core part of our feminist international assistance policy. I think that women's voice and leadership programs are a good example of how our approach is evolving. Through this program, CC has built incredible partnerships with 36 women's rights organizations in Haiti, for example. And these partnerships have meant that over 7,000 people could learn more about their human rights. Je tiens également à souligner que Cooperation Canada jouait un rôle déterminant dans l'instauration d'une collaboration et d'un dialogue réfléchi, franc et ouvert avec la société civile. Beaucoup d'entre vous ont participé aux efforts de transformation de nos systèmes de subvention et de contribution afin de les rendre plus modernes, conviviaux et efficaces. Cette transformation demeure une priorité essentielle pour nous et j'aimerais vous remercier pour votre temps, votre énergie et votre collaboration. Just a few weeks ago, many of you also joined Global Affairs Canada for a discussion about the Indo-Pacific strategy and the important role that civil society is playing going forward. Canadian partnerships and expertise are making a big impact in healthcare, climate adaptation, economic development, and so much more. Moving forward, Canada will be working with partners in the Indo-Pacific region on areas such as inclusive governance, energy transition, biodiversity, plastic reduction, sustainable oceans, and more. It was clear from our government and civil society partners that Canada needs to keep the momentum going on the IPS in the years to come. And we look forward to working with Canadian civil society as we deepen those relationships, get new projects off the ground, and keep working toward the SDGs. Back in 2015, when the SDGs were first unveiled, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon summed up the call to action for the global goals in this way. He said, "Be a global citizen, act with passion and compassion. Help us make this world safer and more sustainable today and for the generations that will follow us. That is our moral responsibility." And so let me thank you for stepping up, answering that call to action with such tireless dedication and unwavering belief that we can build a better world together. I want to congratulate all of the recipients of the awards today. I want to thank all of you. It was wonderful to see some of you in person yesterday. I look forward to meeting many, many more of you. And once again, I just want to say thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Vandenbeld. C'est un plaisir de vous compter parmi nous aujourd'hui. Alors, ce soir, nous célébrons notre secteur avec 3 grands prix. Les prix Innovation et Impact, dont un prix individuel et un prix organisationnel, qui sont présentés par Coopération Canada, EUMC, et les administrateurs du prix Louis Perrinba. Nous avons aussi le prix Karen Takacs, typiquement décerné à une championne de l'égalité des genres dans notre secteur. Je passe maintenant la parole à Monsieur Richard Winstra, directeur général de Mission Inclusion, qui va nous dire un peu plus à propos du prix Karen Takacs. À vous, Monsieur Winstra.
Thank you. Thank you, Andy. Merci beaucoup. I am very pleased to see so many people around the screen. It's because I'm a big fan of Cooperation Canada, but also because the award I'm presenting is very dear to my heart. Karen Takacs was a celebrated and cherished leader of the Canadian international cooperation community. She recruited me 20-some years ago after being my boss. She became my friend and my collaborator and partner in crime, as does happen in this wonderful sector and has happened so much with Karen. For over 20 years, she worked tirelessly and collaboratively to improve the lives and advance the rights of women and girls locally, nationally, and internationally. Karen was a catalyst for collaboration in the Canadian international sector. Throughout her life, Karen was admired for motivating and bringing people together around a common cause. By way of encouragement, generosity, and such a great sense of humor, Karen led by mobilizing and supporting others. Sadly, Karen passed away in 2015. Cooperation Canada, at the time CCIC, created the Karen Takacs Award to honor Karen's invaluable contribution to the fight for social and economic justice and to celebrate the unique collaborative leadership she demonstrated throughout her career, including her time as chair of the board of Cooperation Canada. The Karen Takacs Award represents feminism, collaboration, advocacy, mentorship, and resilience. Its committee is composed of some past recipients of the award and others who, like me, were colleagues and friends of Karen, as well as these past recipients. Since the inception of this award, the committee has faced difficult decisions selecting a recipient from a field of very deserving candidates, and this year was no different. The committee is constantly impressed by the accomplishments and leadership of the nominees, and it's always made it incredibly difficult to select just one. However, we are very proud to recognize the award of our award recipients. And I'm delighted to announce that this year, the Karen Takacs Committee has the privilege of recognizing the contributions of not one, but 2 outstanding individuals. So it is with great pleasure and honor that I introduce you to the first recipient of the 2024 Karen Takacs Award, Catherine Liao. Catherine Liao is a remarkable researcher and advocate who has left an indelible mark on the landscape of global health and social justice. Currently serving as a research associate for the Center for Justice, Equity, and Sustainable Action at the University of Fraser Valley and pursuing her PhD at the University of British Columbia, Catherine's commitment to transformative change is truly remarkable and inspiring. As the Vice Chair and Director of Research Africa, she played a pivotal role in establishing a burns unit in Freetown, Sierra Leone, showcasing her dedication to enhancing healthcare outcomes in underserved communities. Catherine's comprehensive approach extends beyond geographical boundaries, empowering persons with albinism in Sierra Leone and collaborating with the National Indigenous Fire Safety Council and Fire Rescue Services in Canada. Grounded in intersectional analysis and critical ethnography, Catherine's research focuses on burn injuries in underserved communities, aiming to address healthcare disparities and gender inequality. Her exemplary leadership and holistic approach make Catherine a truly deserving recipient of the Karen Takacs Award. Today, we celebrate her outstanding accomplishments and the positive impact she has made. Please join me in congratulating our colleague, Catherine Liao. Catherine, I will now hand over the floor to you if you'd like to say a few words.
Thank you, Richard. So I feel very honored to receive the Karen Takacs Award. But first and foremost, I would like to thank Christina McIsaac, Director of Innovation with Funds for Innovation and Transformation, and Janice Hamilton, Executive Director of MCIC, for nominating me. I'm also very appreciative of my friends and colleagues who rallied behind the nomination process. As one of the FIT-funded small-medium organization, I was fortunate to develop a close relationship with the FIT team, and I think many SMOs did. The FIT program is unique in this way, creating conditions for relationships to thrive between local partners, SMOs, and the FIT team. Ultimately, these relationships made the testing projects more successful, allowed SMOs to enact localizations, and promoted gender equality and transformation more sustainably, especially in communities where the FIT projects was implemented. I hope leaders and policymakers in the international development can see how such programs like FIT can spur change in the most meaningful and impactful way. Small change coins, but big impacts in the economic sense. As we celebrate International Development Week and highlight Canada's contribution to eradicating poverty and building a more peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous world, I invite you to reflect on the importance of relationship building. There is no eradication of poverty when we have no relationships with the communities most impacted by poverty. We cannot build a more peaceful, equitable, inclusive, and prosperous world without building relationships. We live in an interconnected world and are impacted by everyday relationships in the global community in some shape or form. Many of you in this space already acknowledge the importance of relationality in global development. Building relationships with the communities where we serve helps to deepen our contextual understanding of the issues they face. It allows us to create tailor-made programs to address social and economic justice, for which Karen Takacs was honored. So once again, I'm grateful to receive the Karen Takacs Award, a symbol of feminism, collaboration, advocacy, mentorship, and resilience. I hope to continue acting on these values to advance human rights, social justice, the decolonization agenda, gender equality, and gender equity, both locally and globally. Thank you.
Mic on. Sorry. Thank you so much, Catherine. And, since I had never met you before, I just want to say thank you for your contribution. I remember reading the file and reading about you, and I think, wow, it would be really great to meet this person. So at a distance, here we are. And now, of course, I have lost my script, and there it is. Thank you. Notre célébration se poursuit et nous présentons maintenant la deuxième récipiendaire du prestigieux Prix Karen Takacs. Aujourd'hui, nous avons le privilège d'applaudir les réalisations exceptionnelles de Odette McCarthy, directrice générale d'Equitas, le Centre international d'éducation aux droits de la personne. Avec plus de 20 ans d'expérience en coopération internationale, Odette s'est avérée une défenseur exemplaire des droits de la personne et de l'égalité des sexes. Son leadership chez Equitas a été marqué par des programmes transformateurs visant à renforcer l'autonomisation économique des femmes dans des contextes géopolitiques complexes à travers le monde. En tant que membre actif du groupe de travail féministe sur la politique étrangère et du comité consultatif antiraciste du secteur de la coopération internationale du Canada, Odette joue un rôle essentiel dans l'élaboration de politiques qui favorisent l'inclusion et l'égalité. Son engagement à faire progresser les droits des femmes, des filles et des personnes non-binaires est évidente dans la vision, la mission et la programmation d'Equitas. Odette collabore largement, coprésident le conseil d'administration de Coopération Canada, contribuant au groupe de travail sur les politiques et favorisant la collaboration au sein de consortiums pour la programmation. Avant Equitas, en fait, depuis aussi loin que je peux me rappeler, et ça remonte jusqu'au siècle dernier, à Jeunesse Canada Monde, Carrefour International, où comme moi et avec moi, elle a travaillé avec Karen Takacs, au ceci, et comme directrice d'Unitara, en passant par l'Université de Montréal, Odette se démarque comme un exemple d'authenticité, de sensibilité, d'intelligence, de refus de la complaisance, d'audace, de prise d'initiative et de collaboration avec sensibilité et humour. D'ailleurs, même son sens entrepreneurial et ludique prend un sens féministe il y a plus de 20 ans, alors qu'elle lance un jeu de société traitant uniquement des femmes qu'elle a co-créé avec une amie. La vie professionnelle nous a amenés à nous côtoyer constamment ce dernier quart de siècle et je profite de cette occasion pour le souligner et pour lui dire ma reconnaissance et ma gratitude pour m'avoir tant appris. Son approche relationnelle et féministe, associée à un dévouement inébranlable aux espaces collaboratifs, distingue Odette McCarthy comme une leader transformatrice et une récipiendaire véritablement méritante du prix Karen Takacs. Aujourd'hui, nous célébrons ses contributions exceptionnelles aux droits de la personne et à l'égalité des genres à l'échelle mondiale. Veuillez vous joindre à moi en félicitant chaleureusement Odette McCarthy. Et Odette, maintenant, le micro est à toi. Je t'invite à prendre la parole.
Merci beaucoup, Richard. Vraiment très touchant de t'entendre, surtout avec les années de collaboration qu'on a eues au fil de maintenant, ça couvre 3 décennies. Je suis profondément honorée et en fait doublement honorée de partager le prix avec toi, Catherine, cette année. Très touchée de recevoir ce prix de Karen Takacs pour l'égalité de genre. Ce prix ne représente pas seulement une réalisation personnelle, mais en fait, c'est une reconnaissance des efforts collectifs de tant de personnes et d'organisations qui se consacrent à faire entendre la voix des femmes dans les communautés à travers le monde. Je tiens d'abord à saluer le leadership, en fait, visionnaire de Karen Takacs, qui était la directrice générale donc, de Carrefour dans les années 2000, quand j'ai travaillé au sein de l'équipe. Son dévouement infatigable et son rapprochement avec le travail des organisations de défense des droits ici au Canada faisait progresser la question d'égalité de genre au niveau international et ça a jeté les bases de travail que nous continuons à faire rayonner aujourd'hui. Son influence a été profonde et a façonné mon propre engagement et celui de beaucoup d'entre vous dans le secteur. À travers plus de 25 ans, en fait, c'est plus que 20 ans, Richard, c'est plus de 25 ans de contribuer avec d'autres. Il y a eu beaucoup de moments clés, moments qui m'ont formée et qui ont eu un impact sur les femmes et les personnes LGBTQI+, dans le Sud. Je ne vais pas tout nommer, mais quelques-unes qui sont tout simples, mais très concrètes. L'une d'entre elles, en fait, c'est mon travail avec l'équipe à l'UMC pendant de nombreuses années. J'ai eu cet honneur. Je me souviens, en fait, des efforts novateurs de l'UMC de considérer les questions d'âge dans la politique égalité de genre, âge et diversité, en fait, en 2018. Un moment qui m'a appris à quel point il est important d'écouter et encourager la jeune génération qui peut diriger et qui doit diriger dans l'avenir pour façonner notre avenir. J'ai travaillé avec le CECI pendant de nombreuses années. En tant que membre de l'équipe chargée du programme en Haïti, j'ai été étroitement impliquée dans la réponse du CECI en Haïti face au tremblement de terre. Et en particulier, la collaboration avec les organisations haïtiennes de défense des droits des femmes, comme Femmes décidées, SOFA, CAIFAM, qui se concentrent principalement sur la question de lutte contre la violence faite aux femmes, mais qui ont été dramatiquement touchées par le tremblement de terre. Ces organisations avaient été mises à l'écart par la réponse humanitaire traditionnelle, mais elles étaient très proches des femmes qui avaient vu leurs moyens de subsistance enlevés à cause du tremblement. Donc, c'était un moment décisif et le choix de travailler directement avec ces organisations de femmes et de leur confier carrément la responsabilité de soutenir l'autonomisation économique et la résilience des femmes souligne le fait qu'il est essentiel, et il continue aujourd'hui de l'être, essentiel pour l'égalité de genre, de s'appuyer sur le leadership existant dans les communautés pour défendre ce qu'elles considèrent la priorité. The work I have been most proud of to have been a part of is actually the work over the past 3.5 years at Equitas. My personal commitment for gender equality and strategies to achieve it have just deepened and expanded. Working very closely and collaboratively with Dignity Network Canada and its members have encouraged us at Equitas to further stretch our definition of gender equality. An inclusive definition, a much more inclusive definition that we've been working on for well over a decade. We're really trying to champion more diversity when convening and training civil society organizations and decision makers to advance gender equality. At Equitas, it's fundamentally a belief that all people, no matter gender, sexual orientation, religion, color of skin, capacity, all people should enjoy the same human rights. It's a fundamental belief that's anchored in the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but yet that is so far from being achieved worldwide because of the barriers and the behaviors and attitudes that prevent people from achieving their fundamental rights. We updated our policy in 2022, and it's forward-looking. And it really sees that we in Canada can support what women and girls and LGBTQ+ rights organizations want to work towards that makes sense for their context, not ours. And that's what's important. This is essential to working towards building rights-respecting communities for all. So I've been very proud to lead and follow, and often follow, the team at Equitas, partners in the communities that we're working with across the world. A big shout out to all of you, peers, friends, and teammates, people of all genders, actually, who've been, I've seen you lead, I've seen you follow, I've seen you recognize your privilege and your responsibility. I've seen you speak about your own experiences with humility and sometimes with courage. Working towards gender equality is personal. Efforts extend beyond the professional to our personal lives, and they challenge us, and they should challenge us, and those around us to question daily our interactions, our decisions, and the actions that we take. And so to really do this well, it goes beyond the work that we do and is part of the dimensions of our lives. So I have to say a special word of gratitude to my family, to my mother, who's a determined and resilient source of inspiration, and to my partner, Jean, and children, Samira, Darius, and Olivier, who have just had unwavering support, no matter what I do and no matter what I get involved in. It's just sustained me over the years. And so without that, I don't think I could have made the contributions that I have. So I'm very grateful for that. And lastly, and I know that this sounds very repetitive, but it's important to say over and over again, especially in a time of increased division, that I was very struck when I was at Women Deliver this summer in Rwanda. There were 6,000 gender equality rights defenders from all over the world, and many, many from the continent of Africa. And Julia Hart from ILGA, so the International Lesbian, Gay, Trans, and Intersex Association, she was present, and she kept emphasizing in all of the forums that we really need to focus on the 95% that we actually agree upon across the gender movements, and put aside the 5% that we disagree upon, and to work more collaboratively and collectively. And so there will be changes and challenges to come, and there will be progress, and it will be step by step, but it is through this collaboration that we will be able to see more progress. To simply put it, it's a question of rights for all, just as simple as that. So I think a deep thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Merci Richard d'avoir souligné les contributions de Catherine et d'Odette, et merci au comité Karen Takacs de continuer à soutenir ce processus d'attribution. Mais surtout, encore toutes nos félicitations à Catherine et à Odette. We will now turn our attention to the Innovation and Impact Awards. I'd like to hand it over to Chris Eden, Executive Director at World University Service of Canada, who will present the individual award of this year's winner.
Thank you very much, and good day, everyone. I've had the honor to be associated with the Louis Perenbaum Award for the last 14 years, and this will be my last year as chair. So I'm really delighted to be joined by my successor at WUSC, Steve Mason, who will be carrying the torch of our responsibilities for the Louis Perenbaum Award in the future. In the realm of international cooperation, innovation is not just an opportunity, it's a necessity. It plays a crucial role in finding novel solutions to complex problems and to leveraging untapped potential within existing systems and resources. In today's increasingly dynamic and challenging global context, we face numerous challenges, including climate change, growing conflict, global displacement, a big issue for us, all of which highlight the urgent need for responsive and adaptive strategies. But cutting across all of these challenges is an additionally crucial and transformative agenda focused on decolonization and anti-racism. In this context, our goal must be to develop creative, adaptive, and forward-thinking solutions, not only to address immediate challenges, but also to dismantle discriminatory and exclusionary systems. Today, we honor the legacy of Louis Perenbaum, a pioneer in our sector whose innovations continue to impact people and will for generations to come. And for the last 38 years, the Louis Perenbaum Award has celebrated individuals devoted to building a better, more equitable world. This year, the award goes to two exceptional individuals, Tiana Ridley-Padmore and Musa Taylor-Lewis, for their collective efforts in advancing the work of Cooperation Canada's Anti-Racism Task Force. Tiana, a dynamic storyteller, equity and inclusion strategist and policy advisor, co-chairs Cooperation Canada's Anti-Racism Task Force and manages Canada's Refugee Education Council, hosted by World Vision Canada. Musa, current president and CEO of Food for the Hungry Canada, has over 20 years of experience in the nonprofit and public sector. Together, Tiana and Musa have organized a transformative conversation on anti-racism within our community. They not only recognize the prevalence of these issues in their own work, but also took proactive measures to incorporate anti-racism principles in their organizational frameworks. Their dedication resulted in the establishment of a comprehensive framework promoting anti-racist practices within Canada and the development of the Anti-Racist Cooperation Hub, ARC. Their ongoing commitment to advancing this work demonstrates their dedication to social justice and inclusivity, turning ideas into impactful action. Their call for a collective commitment to anti-racist practices for the Canadian international cooperation sector has received wide recognition from across our sector, emphasizing the need for systemic change. In recognizing Tiana and Musa, we celebrate their achievements and also acknowledge Louis Perenbaum's legacy. Louis was a big fan of the 19th century French author Alix de Tocqueville, whom he often quoted. And in 1966, a long time ago, I was 1 year old at the time, speaking to a group that was under the auspices of what was then called Canada's External Aid Program, Louis quoted Tocqueville. And his quote was, "To create a more equal allotment of prosperity and of rights throughout the world is the greatest task which confronts those who lead human affairs." As such, Louis would be greatly honored that his name in legacy is associated with the work of Tiana and Musa. Please join me in congratulating Tiana and Musa. And Tiana and Musa, the floor is now yours if you would like to say a few words.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody, wherever you are. I am honored to be here on International Development Week in Bangladesh, observing some of the work that we do in the sector. So first of all, I want to thank the World University Services of Canada and Cooperation Canada for this recognition. I am especially honored and humbled by the knowledge that we were nominated by the women of the Anti-Racism Task Force on Accountability. Nancy, Vaishnavi, Jessica, Micah, Rachel, Maritu, Imayen, Aislinn, Heather, Stephanie, and others. This is as much a recognition of your efforts as it is of mine and Tiana's. Though you've singled us out, I accept this on behalf of the whole team who worked together to do something concrete about the racial imbalance in our sector. I want to give special thanks to Gloria Novovich, who initiated the efforts while on staff at Cooperation Canada and convened volunteers with a simple question: what can we do? At the time, we could find no precedents in the sector, but we made a path by walking and walking together. Thank you. Merci. Ça, c'est pour nous. Yeah. We are now a few years away from the public conversations on racism that led to the sector's self-examination in 2020. Enthusiasm has begun to wane, and other equally pressing issues demand our attention. Fatigue over the slow pace of change tempts us to succumb to the thought that nothing will ever change. Though I hold some of that discouragement about the possibility of change, I joined the team because I believe it is important that we try to consciously live up to the ideals of our sector. I know that the vast majority of people involved in international development and humanitarian work do so out of a desire to make positive change and to use our power and privilege to respond to pain and suffering around the world. Many of us have recognized that we have not always handled that power well, and have knowingly and unknowingly operated from assumptions rooted in racial prejudice, exacerbating some of the inequities we set out to change. So I want to use this opportunity to encourage all of us to stay at it by going back to the recommendations of the Collective Commitment Report. They are, if I say so, myself on behalf of the whole team, brilliant in their simplicity and in their complexity. 1, create an intentional anti-racism strategy. 2nd, invest in financial and other resources in your strategy. 3, center negatively affected peoples. And measure and monitor. As we say in the culture, what gets measured gets done. And 5, reverse harmful storytelling and communication of our work. Let each of us commit to do whatever we can do to affect change, no matter how small or how big. And whatever we do may not make an immediate difference, but it will be an important step towards a future that is more equal for everyone. Thank you to Cooperation Canada and Global Affairs Canada for supporting the work. To my former colleagues at Canadian Food Grains Bank and current colleagues at FH Canada, thank you so much for your support. To my family, Stephen, the Ades, and the 32 clan, I see you there, Mom. Thank you. You are behind, in front, and around everything I do. Thank you all again. Merci à tous et à toutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Many of us with lived experiences of marginalization know that the ability to decide whether to advance human rights or to confront racial inequity is a privilege. We often don't come to this work by choice, but by necessity, by how we experience the world around us and seek to improve the conditions as we navigate it. And so oftentimes what we see is that the burden of undoing oppression, the burden of advancing equity and social justice, it often falls on the shoulders of the most marginalized among us. We certainly don't often receive awards for this work. The reward is seeing incremental change in action. And so I remember 3 years ago, my colleague Caroline Marshall and I were talking about many of the statements that were coming out in support of Black Lives Matter. And many of the organizations that I had worked with, that I had been a part of, were announcing their support of this and recognition of the racial inequity that has permeated our sector. And to make tangible those statements, we opted to propose the anti-racism framework. And at the time, it was just an idea of how to make concrete and how to memorialize and build on the momentum. And never could we have imagined that it would have been taken up by Cooperation Canada and then transformed into this piece that was endorsed and supported by over 80 organizations across the sector. The anti-racism framework symbolizes one of the first major shifts I've been a part of, where there was acknowledgement that the responsibility of confronting racism within the sector moved from the individual to the institution. The Refugee Education Council, which I'm privileged to be a part of, symbolizes another. And with that, I'll say that I was both very surprised and very honored to receive this award. I thank Cooperation Canada and World University Services Canada for providing this platform. My partners in the Anti-Racism Cooperation Task Force for nominating us and for their tireless work. my co-chair, Musu, for the late nights, the long phone calls, the texts of desperation, my family, Trinity, Jabari, and also my World Vision Canada family and champions who leverage the institutional power to mobilize change and enable this impact. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Musu and Tiana, and huge congratulations to the both of you again. I would like to thank Chris for his introductions, as well as the team at WUSC and the trustees of the Lewis Perenbaum Award for everything you've put into ensuring the success of this award. We turn now to the final award of this evening, which is the 2024 Organizational Impact and Innovation Award. Here to provide some background is a member of the Cooperation Canada Board of Directors, who also sits on our board membership committee, Catherine Jenkins. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. We have arrived at the last but not least award of the evening. So it's my great honor to serve as the chair of the membership committee of the Cooperation Canada Board of Directors. And one of our responsibilities is to pick the winner each year of this organizational award for impact and innovation, which we as a committee always enjoy. So before I announce the winner, let me just start by grounding us in a definition of innovation, which we base off the Whistler principles to accelerate innovation for development impact. And according to these principles, innovations are concrete solutions such as new technologies, new business models, policy practices, approaches, partnerships, and insights that effectively address intractable development challenges and barriers to empowerment so as to improve the lives of the poorest and most vulnerable. So with that, j'ai maintenant le grand privilège de vous présenter notre lauréat du Prix organisationnel de l'innovation et de l'impact de 2024. Félicitations à Girls of Tomorrow Foundation. And before I invite Lindy to say a few words, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about their work and why the committee selected them for this year's award. So Girls of Tomorrow Foundation is a Canadian charity co-founded by dynamic individuals under the age of 30. Through their programs, they are tackling the pervasive issue of school absenteeism due to menstrual stigma in Uganda through an innovative 11-month educational program. Girls of Tomorrow partnered with local schools and a community center to offer a menstrual health curriculum for both boys and girls, using plants and permaculture gardens as the core curriculum. Each crop was tied to a lesson about health, physiology, nutrition, gender equality, and mental well-being. For example, students were taught that millet could be consumed by menstruating girls to raise their iron to a healthy level when it drops during menstruation. Additionally, the students acquired skills in crafting reusable menstrual pads using banana fibers from the gardens, with boys and girls collaborating together to make pads for girls to use. The gardens successfully fostered an environment of open dialogue surrounding menstrual health and other related issues. Most importantly, this groundbreaking approach resulted in a significant drop in absenteeism due to menstruation from 66% to 18%. This female-led initiative embodies the Whistler principles, promoting inclusive innovation, locally driven solutions, and intelligent risk-taking. We are looking forward to seeing how this innovation can be scaled as an impactful model for empowering young leaders and dismantling barriers. So on behalf of the Cooperation Canada Board of Directors, congratulations to the Girls of Tomorrow Foundation and their partners for their exceptional work in driving this positive change. Je souhaite maintenant la bienvenue à Lindy Proudfoot de Girls of Tomorrow Foundation qui accepte le prix au nom de son organisation.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for this award. This is a very big honor. Girls of Tomorrow Foundation is quite a small organization. And as Lewis's legacy teaches us, he had lots of ideas about education and connecting the youth of the world. And that's actually the background of the Girls of Tomorrow Foundation. Co-founders Jenna Walsh and Namatala Majarine met when they were quite young, I think 17 and 18, and they came together over a shared passion for female equality, gender empowerment, and wanting to, in general, just make a better world for everybody who the work was touching. So yes, thank you very much. It's a big honor for our small but mighty nonprofit. I would like to thank Cooperation Canada, WUSC, and the trustees of the Louis Perrenbaum Award for giving us this opportunity and highlighting this project, which we were all very passionate about. And thank you, a huge thank you to FIT, because the Fund for Innovation and Technology and the Manitoba Council for International Cooperation gave us the opportunity to test this innovation. And that was a huge, huge opportunity for us to work with larger funds than we were in the past and to see, okay, we had this idea, we think it might work, and does it? And when we went on the ground and put this project into place, we were shocked and thrilled about the results that we found. And yes, as Catherine said, we are also very enthusiastic about figuring out how we can scale this project and make the programming applicable to different areas. I would like to thank Kalika Uganda, who is a local permaculture group who supported Girls of Tomorrow Foundation in putting this project on the ground. And I would also like to thank the St. Jude Family Project, who supported our initial idea and supported this innovation. I would like to thank Namatala Majarine, who is the co-founder of GOT, who managed this large project and took it on as her baby while she was carrying her own baby. So during a very busy time in her life. And I would like to thank Jenna Walsh, who is our other co-founder, for consistently finding opportunities for the Girls of Tomorrow Foundation to grow and to thrive and to put our ideas and our thoughts into action, which has been so humbling to be able to do. I would like to thank Sarah Nakumbuga, she was one of the main helpers in our project, as well as Millie Namanda, who was our farm manager. And I would like to thank the local nurses that were part of our project, who were essential in teaching the female anatomy lessons to the girls. And I would also like to thank the schools that trusted us in bringing these teachings to their students, because it was a different way. It was a social approach with agricultural skills tied in, and it's not a very easy project to understand until you really see it in action and see it laid out. So thank you to the schools who trusted us to bring this programming to their youth. And I would also like to thank all the local leaders who we worked with in the Rakai district in Uganda, who also trusted this innovation and trusted the Girls of Tomorrow Foundation to bring this project to its youth. And of course, the students for participating very eagerly in our project and for being open with each other about having conversations around menstrual stigma, their own experiences, and for taking charge of changing the dynamic of menstruation to something that has stigma, to something that could be celebrated and seen as a positive part of a female life cycle. And I would definitely like to mention Agnes Seitz. She is from the Yukon in Canada, which is where I'm from, and she is a permaculture advocate, hardcore. So she was very inspiring in conversations that we had about teaching me how essential it was for women to be in the process of planning and directing garden programs in their community. So she was a big part of the inspiration for this innovation. And I would like to thank my permaculture teachers and nutrition teachers, herbology teachers, anatomy teachers who gave Girls of Tomorrow Foundation this skill set to bring these diverse ideas together into a cohesive program. And lastly, but probably most importantly, I would like to thank our mothers, our babas, our grandmothers, our aunties, our sisters, our friends, our fathers, our uncles, our brothers, for bringing us up in a world where we saw examples of female empowerment, gender equality, and female care, which this project is based on. So yay, to all the relationships, thank you everybody so much.
Congratulations again to Lindy and to the Girls of Tomorrow Foundation. I would also like to thank Corporation Canada's membership committee for its ongoing involvement in the awards process. Et maintenant, pour clore notre cérémonie, j'aimerais inviter Shannon Kinderney, directrice des opérations de Coopération Canada. Shannon, over to you.
Thank you, Gabrielle and Andy, for your amazing job, and all of our presenters and awardees for a lovely afternoon. If you're not in gallery mode on Zoom, I would like to encourage you to get into gallery mode so that we can have a toast. Maybe turn your cameras on, see each other, be in the space, and toast our awardees. I have sort of that easy job to close at the end, and I thought maybe I would just share back some of the things that I heard as a toast to our awardees. So you can raise your glasses. In my case, I have a water bottle, but I'm raising it. So I heard from Catherine about the relational work that we do, and I think most of our awardees talked about that. You know, leading and following, as Odette reminded us, is so important. All of our speakers around professional, being personal, and Musu, your family behind, in front, and around everything that we do, it was so beautiful. Making a path and walking together, and committing to make that change, no matter how big or how small. Tiana, you reminded us all that major shifts are possible, and we can come together and we can make those shifts happen. And Lindy, thank you for reminding us that big ideas sometimes just need a little bit of trust, a little injection of support, and lots of relationships. So thank you to you all for their amazing successes and for being a part of this community and inspiring us all. So a toast, cheers, santé, merci beaucoup tout le monde. Et c'est fini. Alors, on passe une belle soirée, après-midi, matin. Thanks, everyone.
Merci.